You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and on today's episode, I'm joined by wedding and event singer Jessica Clarke-Wheatley. Jess, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm really glad we finally got around to doing this. We've been talking about doing it for months.
Yeah, my fault.
Just for some context, Jess and I worked together maybe like 9 months ago, was it? Last November, something like that. Mm-hmm. She won a giveaway that I was running on my Instagram, and so we did a few photos and a few videos together. And we just as we were speaking before we hit record, at that time you definitely still had a full-time job, and you hadn't been in the wedding business for very long.
No,
is that right?
Not. Yeah, very, very new. So I was actually working this out the other day. I think it's really difficult because the lines blur for me, because I think in my head I've always felt like, because I had friends and family who would ask me, oh, would you sing at my wedding? I've always kind of wondered, but that doesn't count. You know, if people know you and it's literally a wedding gift or a favour, that's not a job. You know, you do it because you love it and because you love the people. So it hasn't even been 12 months yet, Jack.
Really?
I think it hits 12 months in September, which is crazy. And obviously that's when I applied for the competition for you, and I saw that you were doing that giveaway, I was like, oh, that would really help me out and help my business. So that's why I went for it. Because I didn't have anything like that. There was no promo, no proper material at that point. And then obviously September, October, I did a bit of branding work, had the videos with yourself in November. And we're not even a year from that point. So
yeah, that's pretty spectacular. We'll get into all of the things you've achieved in that time. But just to kick things off, let's go back and hear a little bit about how you got into singing and kind of the journey that led you to getting into weddings and events.
Yeah, so it's probably a bit cringe, really. Like a lot of singers, start out from school really young. A lot of my family sang on my dad's side. They were all professional. And I had some very big shoes to fill growing up. I think everyone just assumed I would go into it with like school shows, local theatre, Amdram shows. And that was kind of where things started for me. But obviously growing up took it a bit more seriously and wanted to lean into classical roots that I knew I had. So went through all my training, did about 5 years of classical training, loved it, was really helpful, but I felt like I still wanted to be doing more of the pop stuff, the stuff I enjoyed listening to and singing, which is kind of how I got into doing gigs, really. I got approached to do a charity when I was quite young, like a charity event, and I was so scared, like beyond anxious, nearly didn't do it. I didn't even know how to sort out backing tracks and get lyrics. I think I had printouts at the time. I must have been about 18, 19 years old. And then something similar happened later on. But I got the bug for it. I realised, you know what, I'm being stupid. I actually really do enjoy being up there doing it. And then obviously went through the really fun thing of pubs and clubs and restaurants. And that can be a real eye-opening mixed bag experience. I'll come back to that later on. That's an interesting one. But that was my way in. So obviously I got married in 2024 and I was already wanting to go into weddings, but hadn't got the first clue. I had no contacts. I had no nothing. I was starting from the ground. I had loads of experience of singing and how to market myself as an individual, but no clue where to begin with weddings. And obviously outside looking in, I found it very, very hard to navigate. And I thought, because people like who they like, they have the connections with the people that they've worked with for years on end that are reliable, trustworthy. And I just felt like a rabbit in the headlights trying to start afresh. So that is probably why I put so much investment on the front of, I guess that's why I put so much investment at the start, because I thought, if I don't do this right, I'm not going to make a good impression. Where
did you sort of learn those, or where did you get that inspiration of how to like sort of start things off?
This is going to sound really odd. I guess it's a mix of two things. So going to sound like a real super fan now, and I won't name names because that's really creepy, but I knew a few wedding singers, because obviously some came from theatre and there would be crossover. I don't know how, but I would still get like suggestions on my For You page of things that I would like to listen to. And some of them were wedding singers, and I always used to admire them, thinking, oh my God, I wish I had the balls to do that. And like, I would love to go and do that. God, what a great job that would be. So I've like been secretly in the wings for like a few years, just watching how people are thriving. And then on the other side of it, I suppose, rather than just kind of low-key stalking people and how great they are, the other side of it was, I knew from a business sense, with a different hat on, I knew that the experience I'd had with pubs and restaurants and stuff, and that if I didn't look the part, if I didn't make the branding, if I didn't do the posters, if I didn't commit to saying what kind of things I'd be doing, and, you know, in some cases, don't agree with it. In some cases, bring in an audience, almost making you a package that would be investable. I thought, if I don't do that from a wedding sense, people are just going to be turned off. They won't care. They'll think, who's this new girl? You know, how dare she come in with all of these ideas, and yet it's not like a ready to go package, if that makes sense. So I probably was thinking from two stances. I had all of this inspo and I thought, wow, they look great. They're smashing it. And they were from all over the UK. So people who might watch this will probably know who I'm referring to. And then obviously the other side was with a business mentality, knowing how ruthless it can be. Mm-hmm. So I kind of damage controlled my entry.
Where did you sort of get that business acumen from the start? Does that come from your day job, or is that something else?
Probably yes, but my day job has changed over the years. So I literally came out of uni doing a degree that I thought, it was great at the time, but didn't lend me to a job. Ended up working in, you'll laugh, car insurance for like 3.5 years, working in sales, B2B, marketing. And if anything, that taught me to be quite robust. Like I certainly knew how to interact with people better, because it's such a dry subject. Sorry for anyone who's watching this who I used to work with. I had some lovely times, but it's not the most compelling of topics if you don't like cars. But we did things like car shows, and I would always be talking to people, and I'd be up there kind of getting people roped into competitions. And I think I started to realise at that point, I've got more to give than I'm doing right now. But I think all of these things that I did job role wise were instrumental in how I approached this part of my life. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad, like, I know I have days where I'm like, oh my God, like, Jack, I'm 32. I'm coming into this like, I'm not a spring chicken. I see people that are waltzing in straight out of school, or they've kind of come out of uni and drama school and they're plunging straight into being, a full-time musician, or they're going into being a wedding singer. And I think, God, they've got so much time to make mistakes and be creative and do all of the things they want to do. They could hop on a cruise ship or take anything. Whereas I think part of it for me is maybe being up against it time-wise, thinking I need to work smart in order to get where I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's worked for a start. But those younger people as well, they don't have the life experience that we have. As I'm 36, I'm a little bit older, but that you've got, and they haven't done those jobs, and they haven't got your personality and stuff. So it's everyone's on their own journeys, is basically what I'm trying to say.
But then I look back at that age though, and I feel like, credit where it's due, I would never have had that, like, that sparkle to go and do that at that point in my life, because I just overthought everything. Whether it's a new generation that are thinking, do you know what? I don't need the 9 to 5. I'm going to go and do what I want to do. Whereas us millennials were kind of suckered into the dream that didn't exist. So I've kind of gone through insurance, marketing, communications, and I've still got a day job. I'm still NHS. Yeah. And I work with staff, and my whole primary job is engagement. So it's not like it's leagues apart from what I need to do with this, if that makes sense. So I know how to deal with people in a good way. I hope that doesn't come across as like insincere, but like I know how people work.
Yeah. So let's go back to September then, when you say you sort of started this business. What was like the first thing, or how did you get that first sort of wedding show that wedding gig that you didn't think it was like a friend's gig or something?
Well, it didn't even start as organically as that. I'll be honest, it was messy. So I had sang at a friend's wedding. I knew her through theatre. I've always felt quite flattered. A lot of people would say to me, if I'd done like a show with them in our little town, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm getting married. Would you sing at my wedding?" And I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so lovely. That's such a huge compliment. I would never in a million years have expected it." And it happened quite a few times, like from our little small town theatre.
Did you charge people for that, or did you do it for free?
There was a mixed bag. It depends. Yeah. I know this sounds awful, but I think it depended on the individual and the relationship. Some people were like absolutely hell-bent on paying me. They were like, "No, you're doing all of this, you're travelling, I'm paying everybody else." Whereas someone, were happy to take it as a gift. And again, I don't want to judge because, I think it's different for everybody. But it certainly wasn't in the leagues of what I'm learning is the normal within the wedding industry, if that makes sense. It was, if there was a charge, it wasn't comparable.
Yeah.
But that was my way in. So I was quite lucky to have sung at a few weddings for people I knew, and obviously would get to be a guest afterwards, which was always very lovely and very different, very different on the other end of the scale. So I had a few contacts, but I was clutching at straws, like, "Oh, I sang at your wedding in, maybe 9-12 months ago. Sorry, I sang at a wedding at your venue 9-12 months ago. I'd love to hear of any upcoming opportunities." So essentially, I pimped myself out for free. I know that sounds awful, but there's no other phrase I can think of. But I would say, "Look, I'd love to come and sing again. Have you got an open day, a show around? Have you got a wedding fair?" And I ended up doing that for quite a few venues and did, I think, nearing 15 wedding fairs or open days, things like that, between the autumn months of last year and the spring of 25, just gone. I was everywhere, like a bad smell. Like, people would say to me, "Jess, what are you doing? You're going to be absolutely knackered." And I was. Before wedding season hit, I was like, I'm juggling a full-time job and I'm going out, singing for free a lot during the weekends. Yeah. But I don't regret it. Like, a lot of people who have started out, like me, coming into weddings, maybe they've done pubs, clubs, events and stuff. People who are starting new, they say to me, "Jess, any tips?" I'm like, "Just do the wedding open days." I said, some will be crap, some are a real mixed bag. Some you'll kind of be counting down like, "Oh, I can't wait to go home and, have a takeaway and a cup of tea," or whatever is your favourite thing to do after a long day's work. But others would be like inquiry after inquiry. And it's sometimes, not to quote Hamilton, be in the room where it happens. If you're not in that room, you don't get the opportunities. And I kind of forced myself into the rooms by offering a free service for a lot of these venues. Some, not keen. Some, and I get it, I respect it. They go for people that they have all the time and they've got that relationship with. But what I'm finding now is that a lot of people don't work for free anymore. They wouldn't choose to do it. Maybe if they're starting out like me, they're happy to do that. But essentially, if you're working for free, you're turning down a paid booking. And for some people, that's their bread and butter. It could be even if it's a lower paid gig or an event. But I would say, that for me was like, that got me on the map. I think I didn't exist before I worked for free for so much. And I know it's ethically conflicting. I wouldn't say, go and work for free. Obviously, I wanted to do it. It was something I was passionate about doing.
I think it's one of the best ways into something, and it's exactly how I started it with first with audio, offering bands free recordings, so just so I could learn and practice, and then same with video as well. I was offering out free videos at the start, and then that's how you start getting bookings. You can't build a portfolio of content and things like that without doing that. It's very lucky if you can, but I know what you mean, saying like, yes, you're taking a paid booking away from someone, but at the same time, the person booking you is taking a risk by not paying you, because they're not guaranteed that it's going to be the quality that they want or need. So it's a two-way thing, I think, and it's definitely a route to doing it that shouldn't be looked down on, for sure. Yeah,
no, I agree. But I don't also to caveat that, I don't think it's bad that people that have been doing this for a long, long time resent doing them. Like, I know that some some people who have been doing it for a long time are choosier with the ones that they do. And I think that's fair, just because some are more fruitful than others. But that's like anything, isn't it?
Is this wedding fairs specifically?
Wedding fairs, open days. I guess it's different for every wedding supplier, but some venues will invite their couples and feed them and kind of showcase the menu and do couples tasters. And that's a great way to get to connect with people. Dinner dates, depending on the phrasing within the UK. I know that it depends which venue it is, but if there's an opportunity like that, I'll always try and do it. And I was absolutely gutted I couldn't do one over the spring because I was poorly, and I thought, God, I bet you I've missed out like at least on 3 there. In my head I was thinking, because you come away confident that at least one couple in that room of 40, 50 couples will go, actually, I really like what that person's doing. And they'll have a magician, they'll have sometimes a cake maker as well. Yeah, it's good. They are good days to have. Sorry, I'm probably doing myself out of a job now. No, they're awful. Don't do them.
There are some wedding fairs as well that you have to pay to be there as well, right?
Yeah. And I think I did all of my calculations quite prematurely for 25, and I've already done my tax return this year because I had the fear. I thought, yes, it's been a good year, but I've also spent a shit ton in investment, kit, awards, subscriptions that I needed, upgrades in insurance, more kit, and then obviously paying for some of the higher end wedding fairs. And yeah, controversial. They're not always the best ones. I do sometimes think that if you're anything like me, sometimes you can get quite overwhelmed with a lot of choice. And I think sometimes the bigger wedding fairs, as great as they are because you're in the room where it happens, I think if there's like 10, 15 versions of the service you're offering, it's not always the best way to go. But that's just my experience.
So let's talk about the recommended supplier list and how you've managed to get onto 37 recommended supplier venues. And well, I don't know. Yeah, I know what you're going to say about how you've done it. We'll get into that. But also, I'm interested in does it work for bringing in work as well?
So it's really mixed. I'll start with the first one. I didn't really have a plan. Like most things in my life, genuinely, that's a bit deep, but I didn't really have a plan. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew that I wanted to do more weddings, and I essentially just, for a lot of things, not just the venue thing, just was throwing shit at the walls and hoping that something stuck. That doesn't just go for recommendations, that goes for music, the stuff I've put out on Spotify, although that did come from actually suggestions from my couples. They wanted to hear more of my covers in an accessible place, so I decided to do that as well. But the recommendations thing was a bit of a leap of faith in that I kind of put together a bit of a package about myself, because obviously they didn't know anything about me. Why would they? I've never done weddings before. I've not sung at their venue. And sometimes it would be a way in to work with them for free. I know that doesn't sound like a good deal, but sometimes it would be because you showed willing and you'd like to be working with them. And then sometimes it didn't work at all because actually some venues prefer to have seen you with their couples and their staff for about 3-4 occasions. They want positive feedback. There's a real rigorous process that you need to go through in order to kind of make the cut, very X Factor style. And others are probably less lenient because they're actually quite willing to have options if they haven't already got, soloists. But a lot of it is luck. I know that's not, what people want to hear when people have contacted me privately and said, oh my God, how do you do it? I've tried for ages with such and such venue. And I've got a list of venues that absolutely I wouldn't bother again to try with, not even on a voluntary basis. And it's not because of, I actually think negatively about them. It's because I just know until I've hit, their criteria or actually been in person with them and built like an organic relationship, there's just no way. So I think there's a few venues that are like that, which I get because, it serves them to be able to protect their own reputation and obviously the experience that their clients will have with them. But yeah, there really is not, there is not a solution or even like a process that I followed. I just, would try and reach out and offer services for free most of the time. And and go from there. Some would do the lovely ghost forever or come back to you in like 3 months and you go, I've already worked with you and they just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple strategy, but like a lot of people don't even attempt to sort of reach out to things. They kind of like just hope that it comes to them, and hope that they'll get picked when people like you are going out and like knocking on doors, sending emails, calling up, and like making things happen for yourself. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I always used to feel quite embarrassed that my background was, especially because I do more people work now and marketing and obviously this, which I love. I always felt a bit bad that I went straight out of uni into sales for like 3.5 years. And I kind of resented that for a bit because I felt like it's not what I thought my life would be like. You know, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I wasn't bad at it, but I didn't think, you know, that was it. But I think that played such a huge part in kind of how I approach business now, just because I'm probably better at selling myself. That sounds weird. I'm probably better at selling myself as a singer than I would be had I have not had that background, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what we go back to, like the journey that you've had, and those experiences that you've managed to build, like of like cumulative, whatever that word is, to now where you've got all these skills that you can, and you started at a really strong point, and smashed it in within the first year, which is amazing. Yeah,
it's a bit weird. I actually thought it had been longer than that, but no. I kind of had a realisation. I was speaking to some of my singing friends that I kind of connected with through wedding singing locally, and we were just talking about how long we've been doing it for, and it wasn't until that point that I realised it still hadn't been a year, because in terms of a strategic sense and actually trying to kind of make my way into the wedding industry, that didn't happen until the autumn, because I was still in an amateur dramatic show in September of last year, which makes me I had the best time. I loved it. And ironically, I was in a show called The Wedding Singer, and then became my entire personality afterwards. So everyone was like laughing during the show, like, "Oh, Jess, what's happening after the show?" I was like, well, literally this, but but in real life.
This episode is brought to you by Acoustic Backs and Tracks, your go-to source for premium acoustic back and tracks that sound and feel like the real deal. Whether you're performing at weddings, recording content, or just practicing at home, it's like having a professional band right there with you. Their tracks are recorded by top session musicians with real instruments and real emotion. No lifeless MIDI here. Need something custom? They've got you covered. From key changes to mashups to exclusive tracks made just for you. Plus, their customer support is fast, friendly, and actually understands musicians. No task is too big for them. And here's the best part. Listeners of the Full-Time Function Musician podcast get 10% off their first order. Just head to acousticbacksandtracks.com and use the code FUNCTION10 at checkout. That's function all in capitals and 10 at the end, but you can find their website link and the code in the episode description. So something else that I have noticed that seems to be great with you as well is the sort of collaborations that you build. And the one that I've noticed is with that you have started collaborating with Nicole Reynolds, who we had on the podcast last series. But also even just on your website, you have a list of recommended suppliers that you recommend to wedding guests, which I assume that it was because you've built up a relationship from working at different things and things like that. And I just feel like that's such a great way to get sort of like a passive recommendation from someone. It's just this networking and relationships that you've built.
Yeah, so I think it's just probably the way that I'm wired, and maybe a lot of it comes from the gratitude, because I do feel like without some of the support that I've had for the first, first 10 months within weddings officially, a lot of kind of the stepping stones that I've, been able to go down have literally been because of other people and people presenting opportunities because they see something in me, even though I'm new and I don't have all of the shiny badges and kind of the gold stars that everybody else has in this industry. They've gone, do you know what? She actually really wants this. I'm going to just shove her in the right direction for this person or that person. And yeah, I never forget stuff like that. I'm like an elephant in that sense. And I think it's also a huge part of my psychology, because people don't forget how you treat them. And I'm one of them. And obviously, whether it's my day job or whether it's this, if you make someone feel important and valued, then they're going to go to the ends of the earth for you. And it literally is my ethos anyway, and how I've been with other people. So like some of the venues I work with, I'm beyond grateful that I actually get, for those that I have got a recommendation status with, depending on the venue, obviously, but some are really proactive, and I'll often get inquiries through certain venues over Staffordshire way, which is amazing. Really, really grateful. And I always, if people say to me, oh, can you recommend some venues? I'm looking to get married, want to stay within the Midlands area. I'll be like, yeah, I said, try these ones. They're fantastic. And then there are others that do the same as well, depending on whether they're going kind of micro, intimate, larger wedding. Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's making an effort with people. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why people have gone, well, not just individuals, but businesses as well, have gone, do you know what, she's up for doing an advert for us, or she's happy to promote our business, so we'll work with her. She seems keen. Yeah.
So, I mean, just back to the recommended suppliers. So, like, with does it actually bring in a more work than you get by yourself? Do they take a fee or anything, or is it just like a nice offer kind of thing?
So, it depends on the venue. Some are very proactive with their lists. I think, depending on the process from like the start of inception of like, we're actually going to be talking about booking your big day, we're going to go and book, and then they're obviously presented with the list. I think it depends. Some are very laid back, some will have a paper list, some will have everything transparent on the website. I would say that I've started to recognise in the 10 months I've been doing this, the venues that are a little bit better at kind of recommending people off of their list. And then there are people that I think are happy to have the affiliation with you for different reasons, and whether that be because social media presence for both parties, whether that is just with locality, things like that. It depends. I think I probably would get, and I'm not ashamed to say this because I'm very, very fortunate to be part of a singing community, but I actually feel at the minute, despite having a lot of venues recommend me, I think probably more recommendations come from peers at the moment. Yeah. For those maybe who can't do it, double booking, or if, they've gone on holiday, whatever it might be. But again, that is something that is happening more frequently now because I've built connections with those people that are recommending me, if that makes sense. And because vice versa, it's kind of like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If I can't do something, I'll, give the opportunity across to you and things like that. Yeah. But I also don't want it to seem like I am fully diluting the impact of the venues, because essentially I'm very small fry in their world. They've got so much to contend with in terms of looking after their client. At the end of the day, a wedding singer is probably not on their priority list, and I respect that. They've got a lot more to think about: accommodation, catering. Obviously, from a business sense, I get, I'm not deluded to think that that's actually negligent on their part, because it isn't, I don't think, because they've got a lot more to contend with. Like, they've got the bigger picture to think about. They've got, the staffing, accommodation, catering. If they've got in-house restrictions with DJs and things, because some do. And yeah, I guess they've got the dynamics to work through with the couple more than they've got the recommending responsibility. But I do think things will change. So shameless plug, I will mention I'm part of a group called Exclusive Suppliers. I don't know whether you'll have come across that. It is primarily Midlands based, but they are working with a awards company and magazine, I Do. So they're working with I Do magazine in collaboration with this kind of trusted supplier network, which hopefully gives clients, couples, more reassurance that who they're booking is legitimate, just because there's a lot of scams that happen, and weddings aren't cheap. Like, it's a lot of money to part with and get it wrong. So I would say that they've also kind of got that same mentality. in that if you are recommended somewhere, then there is kind of a responsibility for venues to be a bit more proactive, because we are, as individuals, as companies, smaller businesses, recommending them as a venue, which is, as we all know, a much larger cost. So we're obviously doing them quite a good solid there. So it'd be quite nice to have a two-way process.
Yeah, I mean, just going back slightly, you mentioned like just the wedding singer community, which I mean, we've mentioned on this podcast before. It's so amazing that everyone just gets on so well and really supports each other and is there for like just moral support a lot of the time, as well as actual standing for gigs and things like that, which is just really great. And I just not something I've seen in any sort of other niche of the function musician industry. No,
I don't know how I managed it, because I was like fresh out the womb, like straight into wedding singing. How I managed to kind of be part of these smaller communities with singers, I will never know. And was really, really fortunate to be invited along to like a meetup in January. I hadn't been doing it that long. I felt like an imposter. Like, honestly, I was looking around thinking, shit, I'm in the wrong place. These guys know what they're doing. They don't need to work and have a normal job. Like, they don't need to, they don't need to ask for advice. They're absolutely flying. And I had like almost, when you go like, you stage struck, what's the word?
Starstruck,
not stage struck. I was like properly starstruck with some of these people that, I'd been like watching, just doing their thing for like, not all of them years, but like certainly over the past few months, thinking, oh my God, that would be amazing. They are living the dream. But it was a lovely time to get together in Jan, obviously all over the UK. Like we're talking, we had people from London, Ireland, Scotland, there were Midlands folk, Manchester, like all over. Like we met in the centre of Birmingham, like a whole tribe of us. Like they must have hated us, absolutely hated us in January. But it was really nice just to be part of that. And obviously, like we're not deluded. There is going to be an element of competition in localities, mostly, I would say. But we're under no illusion that one couple will probably get a quote from at least 5 of us at any given time, and just talk to us about what we offer, what we do, and we kind of share that sometimes. We're like, oh, have you had an inquiry from so and so? Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you get it? Yeah, I got it. Well done. So it's one of them. I think a lot of it does come down to, a lot of it's very subjective, and I think because obviously I got married last year, and that was kind of the tipping point for me. It's such a personal thing that I think because I've seen it on the other side, I don't think you can take offence, because a lot of it doesn't even come down to your experience or background or what style you do. Sometimes it genuinely comes from, have you got a natural rapport with that person who's booking you? Yes, but booked. And people will book from that alone. So sometimes you're like, do you know what? Cracking. So glad that you get on with Claire, Fiona, whoever it might be.
And so inquiries like this, I assume, are coming through social media. And I'd love to talk about social media a little bit and sort of, did you have a plan starting out with that? Because they've grown that quite quickly as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult because I have got a background in marketing, and obviously I'm NHS, yes. And it's very different tactics. If anyone's watching this, they'll go, obviously it's very corporate and very, I think it's more guarded because it has to be, because obviously it's a service, it's healthcare. Whereas you do have a bit more creative freedom in other things. So I used to be first aid before I was NHS, and that was a little bit more quirky. And they did all sorts of different things. But in terms of growing my following and social presence, I had a page for events and singing anyway. I had a small following, to be fair. And that would be like, oh, I've got a gig at this pub. Oh, I'm singing at this restaurant. And then I noticed it was better. And again, this is not rocket science. You could Google this. This isn't anything that I'm going to have to invoice you for later. Like, just posting regularly and giving people a reason to give a shit about you is how people follow. So I and I've said this so many times to people, and they're like, Jess, you're a bit strange. I'm like, I know, but people want to see you're weird. Like, lean into it. Like, if you're a bit strange or you do something a different way, I think that's even more reason to follow you, because even if they don't like you, they're going to be interested. They'll go, well, I don't particularly like what she's doing. I don't love her voice or whatever it is, but they'll go, something's working, why? And they'll follow for that reason. So it's always worth doing it. You know, at least you can laugh at it. If they're going to laugh, you can laugh.
But that's it exactly though. Like, and the couples that are looking through all of the wedding singer profiles and finding the ones that they have that connection with before they even speak to them, it's finding someone like, that they have a similar sense of humor or something like that, or like a dog, they love dogs, whatever it is.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Showing your life and your personality works for everyone.
It can be, I mean, obviously, as a dog person and having 2 Labradors, I do feature my dogs on my stories quite a bit. Just whether it be updates, it could be completely irrelevant to singing, but people go, oh, you're right. Or even like silly things like if you enjoy shopping, or if you're on holiday and people go, oh my God, I love Italy, or wherever it is you've jet setted to for a week. It's a talking point, isn't it? So I think I had to really overcome that in a professional sense, because I knew that anyway. I just found it really hard to apply, because obviously the day job, that is not the approach. Obviously you keep it quite corporate and professional, whereas when you're investing in a person and a small business, people want to see that. So I just started oversharing, basically.
That's still something I can't sort of get over for my own Instagram.
But you've got a dog. People would love to see your dog.
Yeah. I do post some pictures of her sometimes. She always gets more likes than anything else I post. So.
But us dogs and dog people.
So I guess lastly, the Wedding Industry Awards, that's also great to be nominated for that as well. What's that done for your business?
At this point, it's got people talking, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's difficult because obviously I've gone in, and I'll hold my hands up. I wasn't nominated. I just was thinking, because you can self-submit, or you can be nominated. I also did the same for the I Do Awards, which is obviously what I've talked about, the smaller scale Midlands Awards. And I entered for that last year, which is actually, when I look back, laughable. I had barely any couples to back me up. Like, I actually entered and I hit submit and I thought, what am I doing? Like, I'm a joke. Like, I'd love to be there. But I think the fact that I even got to go, and I was even like a regional finalist for the East Midlands as a baby with barely enough couples to back me that would make it, But I was over the moon with that. But I think it gave me a bit of, it gave me a bit of oomph to go, do you know what? I'm going to go for it and I'm going to try. And I ended up ringing, this is outing myself now. I ended up arranging a call with the organiser of TWIA, the Wedding Industry Awards. And I just rang them. I said, I don't know if I'm being daft. I was like, I really want to go for it, but I also don't really have the first clue what I'm doing in terms of everything, not just this. And he was really, really kind. And this isn't a plug to go for it. Obviously, you do pay for the award. You pay for that privilege. You pay to enter, because obviously that's their company. Obviously, you have the privilege of going if you're lucky to be shortlisted. And I had that phone call with him, and he was brilliant. He just said, look, you all start out somewhere. And I explained about my background being a bit colourful, in that I'd done other parts of singing, which is why I felt a bit fraudulent coming into it now. Yeah. But in terms of what I think it will do, in terms of predictions, because at the moment it's hard to tell. Obviously, the shortlisting isn't until, I think, end of September, and the awards would be then 2 months later. I think what it will do, obviously, I don't want to speak it into existence and then bring myself, pending doom. But I think it has the potential for people to go, do you know what, fair play. Like, it hasn't even been a year. Like, the fact that you've even made it in that room or been invited to be in that room is such a big deal. Fair play to you. And I think I would feel exactly how I felt with I Do. Just even being acknowledged to be in that room among the people that you can see are absolutely smashing it. Like, they're doing God knows how many weddings a year. They're out, you know, minimum 3-4 times a week. Yeah. But I think it is, like, again, this isn't a commission-based comment, but it is such a prestigious award. In the wedding industry, everyone knows about it. Like, everyone's heard about it. So to even be in some way affiliated is quite nice.
Yeah. A confidence boost.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But yeah, I don't want to like do myself a disservice. I wasn't nominated, but again, I hadn't asked to be. I hadn't kind of floated the idea to people. I know it's kind of a bit hush-hush and people don't talk about it, but that is discussed. You know, people encourage their couples to nominate them and stuff. Because otherwise you've got to think, like, how would they have organically heard about that? Because they're not in the wedding industry. They're just getting married.
It's like asking for reviews and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, oh my God, there's no shame in it.
Most people aren't just going to do it. You have to ask for it.
But yeah, that's why I wanted to be clear. Like, I don't want to come across as like a fake or a phony. Like, I wasn't nominated. I did just go, do you know what? Sod it. I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
Again, throwing shit at the walls, hoping something sticks.
It's a great way to be, though, and going out and like getting what you want rather than wait until it comes to you. Yeah,
and I think that's what age, like, I think having age on my side, that's one thing I've learned. Like, you can sit and dream about the things you want to do all day long, but they're not going to come to you. You've got to go for that. You've got to go to them. And it's not always easy.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next section of the show, is there anything that you wish I'd asked you, or any parting words that you'd love to leave the listeners with?
It's a good one. I hadn't really thought about this. I wish I had something really like kind of insightful and almost whimsical that people could kind of take away. It's going to be cringe, whatever I say, isn't it? But just be yourself. I think the one thing I've found is, I guess now I'm a bit more self-aware and my brain is fully developed and I'm not overthinking absolutely every part of my being. I'm just going, do you know what? Why fight it? You know, this is who I am. You just got to go with it. And I think it will often be, it'll be the making of you when you don't go against it and you just post the thing that you don't want to post. Like, post it. Even if you think it's beggy, just do it. If you think, do you know what? If I'm vulnerable with my following, or if I'm proud of whatever it is, it could be a song, it could be a piece of music, it could be an award, it could be the fact that you're just on a plane to go on holiday, just post it. I think the more reserved we are, we're kind of, if you're contained by your anxieties, you're not going to progress. And I think that, which is kind of ironic because I definitely am an anxious person, but I think if you go against it, then it's great. Good things come.
Some wise words. Great stuff.
There's some wise waffle there for you to pick from.
So on to your best gigs and your worst gigs. Just a time to share some stories of funny experiences that you've had in your sort of first year as a wedding singer, or beyond that if you I
don't know if I dare mention this, but any of my fellow singer friends, you'll have known about this because I got very excited to share it. I went to a wedding. Oh, this is going to be difficult because it might be identifiable. I'm going to have to talk in riddles to share this story, so don't upset anyone. But I sang at a wedding which was beautiful for a slightly older couple, and I can say that because you need the context. I'm not being ageist, you know. I'm no spring chicken either. Like, I would say there were 50s. I sang for a couple. I'm not going to give any more specifics on that because, but they were really lovely. I had a really lovely day. But one of the, I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if it's going to be too obvious. Basically, I can't give any more specifics. It's going to be too bad. But we had guests. All I'll say is that we had guests disappearing several times throughout the day for crucial parts of the day. Clearly just wrapped up in the moment of a wedding day and feeling the romantic vibes, whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't the bride and groom. And it turned a few heads and it was just I kind of drove home in disbelief, because there were a few moments where individuals did look as though they may have emerged from a bush. But I would say that was one of my funnier moments. I thought that was great. You might have to edit some of that out, Jack, or I might get a formal complaint.
I don't think guests generally listen to this podcast. I think you'll be safe.
Good. Okay, might be safe.
No names were mentioned. Any favourite experiences as well?
Favourite experiences? Oh, you shouldn't say it, but I definitely have had some favourite weddings. And 9 times out of 10, although I won't name them because I don't want to upset any couples because they're all lovely, but 9 times out of 10, in fact, no, 10 out of 10, it is when you've got a really strong relationship with the couple. They're the ones that you just connect with, and there's no forcing of art. You just get on with them. It's easy. Communication is clear. They are very specific on what they want. And it doesn't matter if they're type A or type B. You just seem to click. And I've had a few weddings, I'd say over the past 10 months, where I've really had those days where it's just felt like I've been a guest and they've said, oh, please stay, you know, have a drink with us. And obviously you're heartbroken because you're like, oh my God, I've got a 2-hour drive home. I wish I could leave the car. You know, it's not as simple as that, you know. Yeah. But there are times when I would love to kind of break the fourth wall and be unprofessional and dance with them for a bit. Yeah. Why not? There's no rule against that. But other ones are venue specific as well. I think if you've got a really good, again, there's a theme here, like relationships. I think if I've got a really good relationship with the venue, and it's like you're going back and you've got that rapport, like you're well looked after, and obviously they're quite attentive. Even something basic like, oh, do you need a water? Or everything all right? I'll show you where you're going. Like, and that is basic, but I think it makes a difference in like how your days can go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So what have you kind of got? What's next for you for the rest of the year, or for pushing yourself forward or your business forward? Any plans?
It's a tough one. Like, I guess the one thing I did do, which I've spoken to a few people about who are just starting out like me, I did kind of have a bit of a vision board, and I think that helps. I'm not going to go into whole like manifestation stuff because I realise some people think it's a load of rubbish and some people think it's great. But I do think it helps to have goals and aspirations of some kind. And I had a vision on where I wanted to go. I didn't know how. I knew I wanted to release music, even if it was just for me and literally me and my mum to listen to at home, which she clearly enjoys, bless her. I think she's like one of my top listeners, which is hilarious. Go on, Mum. Hold in the fort. I knew I wanted to do that, and I knew I wanted to book a certain amount of weddings. I won't be sharing the number on here. I know that couples won't listen to this, but I just think it can sometimes seem too competitive. Like, I've got a day job, so what success means for me is going to mean so different for someone else. But in my head, I had a certain amount of weddings I wanted to do. I wanted to release music. I wanted to build relationships with X amount of venues. I wanted to build relationships with X amount of businesses, and I've exceeded on those, which is great. But in terms of where I go next, I think it's very much led by probably the next few months. So not to be cringe again and say watch this space, but I think wedding season is going to be at its peak very soon, and then it will be crunch time for the Wedding Industry Awards. You know, would I have made the cut? And if so, what that then means. Because then we kind of go into like the wind down for the autumn, winter season. Well, typically you would. But if you're a wedding and event singer like myself, you will still be working quite a bit. So I'm quite lucky to still have some bits on in the winter. Yeah. Also not related to weddings, but it is related to music. Part of my goals last summer, before I even went into this, was I really wanted a residency at a local venue. And I can talk about it now because it's not me jinxing it or being weird. But that happened literally a few weeks ago. Like they and it's not weddings, so obviously to be fully transparent, it is a bit different, but it's still performing, it's still singing. And she literally turned around to me and she's like, want you here every month? And I was like, that is such a huge compliment. Don't think it's going to be possible throughout summer, which is good. It's a good first world problem to have, isn't it? But the fact it even happened, is huge. But in terms of next goals, I think, well, I don't want to jinx it. The next few months would be a lovely goal. Even to be in that room, as I've mentioned, would be huge. And then if I can continue to get more bookings, and see an increase, I think, like with anything, whether you're sales or marketing or whatever, if you see an increase, that is still considered progression. I think I did so much in a short space of time that one thing I have found is it's really hard to not chase the next thing and think, what else have I got to fucking pay for now that will propel me forward, when I'm kind of at capacity. And I mean that in I don't know what more I can be doing, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because it's kind of put me in a state of flux of thinking, well, I've released the music I wanted to. Yes, I've not got thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and it's not gone viral, and I'm not on Love Island. But do you know what I mean? My track's not being used for someone's wedding show reel or whatever, which I get for some singers who have been doing it a long time. That was a real aspiration, and completely admire that. But I know that I am not there yet. So even releasing the music for me was just a nice to have, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've got a firm answer on what's next. I just think I need to see where we are in November.
Yeah. So do you have any plans to stop the day job and go full-time singing, or do you think you'll always kind of keep it as the side hustle, if you can even call it that, because it sounds way more than a side hustle at this point?
It started off as a side hustle, though. I never imagined it to go like this. It's almost like I was shocked when I started putting money into something I was passionate about and it started to work, and I went, oh, okay, that's going to leave me in a bit of a predicament. I don't actually know at this stage, and I've had conversations with colleagues. I guess I feel like I'm being really ambiguous. I promise I'm not doing it on purpose, but I think the plan eventually is to kind of split my time between the two. I've worked in the NHS for 6.5 years, and without giving you my life story and getting a violin out, I went through quite a few medical procedures a few years ago, and I've got quite a big emotional attachment to the NHS in general. And I want to keep looking after staff. It's still a passion of mine. So I think if I could do 50-50, then that would be the dream. Some people go, do you know what? I want to go full time with my singing, but I think I would still like to have that feeling of novelty and being able to, I guess, step back from it sometimes too, to really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? Because if you were to go full time, then that's everything, and it becomes more of a job than it does a passion, I guess. But
exactly.
Yeah, there is a good balance, I think, and it's nice to have a bit of variety in your life as well.
No, definitely. But work are aware. I think I was just a bit choosy with my response and how I worded it, just so that they didn't think I was just about to hand my notice in and run away, because that is not the plan. Yeah. But I think that would be the goal one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day soon.
So just before we wrap up, quick fire round for you, just some quick questions.
Oh God.
Question 1, what is the most effective thing that you've done to market yourself or your business?
Build relationships and build them organically as possible, whether that is with starting out with people that you knew already and had a relationship with and it flourishing from there, or literally offering that free service, like I said, and then that naturally builds because they've hopefully got a good impression of you.
Yeah, perfect. What have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago? I mean, it's maybe it's irrelevant, but
I don't know. No, I feel like it is relevant, but there could be a whole long list. God, quick fire round, and I've completely come to a standstill. What have I learned? Loads. Go for what you love. If maybe this is going to be controversial, but don't listen to the demons that will tell you not to do something that you want to do. And also, be careful who you ask advice from, because there'll be a lot of people that are overly cautious on your behalf that aren't as passionate as you, don't have the same skill set, and they'll try and talk you out of what you're trying to achieve. And there were so many people I consulted at the beginning, and I just wish I never bothered, because I'd have probably done it like 3 years sooner.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean on that front. If you were just starting out now, what's the first thing that you would do?
Oh, so I did this. At the very start, and that was a giveaway. It was probably complicated. Looking back, it was too much. I ended up doing loads of bundles of prizes because I'd got connections with people. And a lot of them weren't wedding related. They were just people I had connections with because I knew them, or they were a local business. I think, like you said at the start, like, giveaways are great because it's a good way of building your portfolio and building relationships as well, both with your clients and with venues. And then social media, like, I don't think, especially because my background is in social as well, I don't actually think there is a real art to it. And I get that's controversial. Like, these people who use branded colour palettes, I respect them. They've got a lot of patience and they look beautiful. But I actually think that people just want to see, like, the raw version of you. 9 times out of 10, they would prefer to see the crappy take, the grainy video that shows your service, rather than, and I know that is probably controversial because I love a bit of branding and everything, you know, whipped up nicely in Canva, but I don't always think it's the best approach. So I guess the reason I've said that is, even if you haven't got those things and you haven't got all of the shiny, you know, the shiny things and the whistles and the bells on it, it doesn't matter, because you still build in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I completely agree. Like, I want to start putting out more videos, and I want it to be all nicely recorded on a beautiful camera and stuff like that. But 99% of the people that I follow and the videos that they put out, it's just on their phone. It's in their car. Yeah. It's not
people
fancy.
People don't care. Like, and, I think that's the thing, isn't it? We can absolutely pull ourselves apart and go, that is shocking. God, I can't believe I was going to post that. But, and I don't know about you, the videos that do the best for me sometimes are the ones that are the worst quality. Like, they're not particularly that creative. It's just you got a good take on a whim, either a live recording, or you've done a nice take of something, and they blow up. And it's like it's been recorded on a 2004 Nokia. Like, it would never, you would never expect it to do well.
Yeah,
I'm showing my age now.
Next question then. What is the biggest mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
There's been a few. Being really vulnerable, though. Probably being ill prepared. So obviously I put loads of money into the promotional stuff back in autumn of last year, and then I was shocked because I started to get bookings through, which of course would happen because I'm more investable. I look like I'm offering a professional service and not just, you know, singing in my kitchen or my bedroom, like saying, look, I'm a wedding singer, which, no shade, by the way, sometimes they're the best videos. People like to see what happens behind the scenes. But I just didn't always feel very prepared. So sometimes I'd get like a song request through, and I look back at my connections now. And the reason that's so important for a singer is back then I wasn't using, I think back in September, I know I wasn't using many acoustic backs and tracks, which again sounds like a commissioned based plug. It isn't. I've worked with them, I've done ads for them, but I had no nice sounding backing tracks for like bespoke requests at that point.
Yeah.
I had heard of them actually by that point, but I didn't have an archive. I'd had a few that I'd purchased, but I didn't have an archive of stuff. I didn't have the right contacts for like really particular songs. I didn't have the right contacts for what was I going to do if I wanted to release a song on Spotify and didn't want to have to pay someone the royalties to do that. Oh, there was just so many things back when I was starting out that I didn't have the answers to the questions. And I think I felt a little bit on the back foot for a while. Like I had to learn as I was going, which I guess outside looking in, people are like, oh, Jess is doing so well in a short space of time. I was winging it, completely winging it. I was on Google most days thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? Or where am I going to find this? Or I didn't realise I needed another piece of equipment because I've got to have two record. Oh my gosh, no, that's not the word. But I'm going to be based in 2 rooms at a wedding, so I need a larger PA and a smaller one.
Right.
Just loads of things that I hadn't sat down to work out, and I felt quite embarrassed for a bit because I felt like a little bit like a duck above water. Like everything looked great on social media, but my feet were like, oh my god, shit, what am I doing? Whereas now, it's fine. But I would say, I would just want to, play devil's advocate. I think if I had been held back by any of that, I wouldn't be here now. I think there is an element of, you do have to plunge yourself into the unknown and the depths of hell to go, oh my God, do I want to be here? Can I do this? And I think the exposure therapy was very handy for that.
It's like if you're not a little bit uncomfortable with what you're doing, then you're not growing, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, and it's been a very uncomfortable time, like very. And that isn't me blowing my own trumpet saying that I'm doing really great, because I don't know how you would even measure that. I think it's good for the time frame. But yeah, it's been an uncomfy time. But again, I'm really lucky. I think because I fell into, probably prematurely, and I don't know how, but I was obviously welcomed with open arms with this singing community. I think if that hadn't have been there, I would have felt at a loss with a lot of these questions, because I'd have been like, well, how are you guys doing this? And if you got a quote for abroad, how are you taking your wedding kit on a plane to Marbella or wherever it is you're going? So it felt like a lot of the extra barriers then that could have been there were lifted, which is great. Yeah.
It's a really nice story, and I'm glad that we finally got to do it. But one more question before we finish up. Do you use any specific tools or apps to help manage your business?
So I use Gigio all the time. I was introduced to Gigio by a peer. So for those on the call that don't know what Gigio is, it's basically an online platform for things like invoicing, contracts, event booking, calendar feature. I promise I'm not on commission, but maybe I should be. But that's great. And I think it's really good for someone like me who was working a day job full time, by the way, not that I want to get a Blue Peter badge for that, but there was a lot of extra admin. The busier I got, the more admin I would have to do, and I felt at a loss with that as well, because it was just, I didn't really know what couples expected. I didn't know the standard, and it was very much a makeshift job, and me kind of doing what I think was needed and using templates on Word until I'd actually got that sorted out officially. And then obviously acoustic backs and tracks I use quite often. I'm also quite fortunate to be connected with some musicians now, which is great. And I'm really reluctant to share them out. Not that they're not good, but I just think I've fallen onto a bit of a kind of a gold mine there, in that they're easily accessible, affordable, and brilliant. Like all of my Spotify tracks, bar I think 2, were from this individual. So yeah, I think it helps, having someone. Yeah. Having someone or a business there to help you actually do your job. But yeah, and things that some musicians will use, some won't. I imagine not everybody will use stage tracks, but again, find that great, especially as a female who often needs to lift the pitch, and stage tracks is a dream for that. You don't even need to be good at it, you just slide it. It's brilliant.
Cool. I mean, this has been really fun. I'm so glad that we finally got to do it. So if anyone wanted to find out a little bit more about you or give you a follow, whereabouts would you send them?
9 times out of 10, primarily would be Instagram. So at JCW_sing. I am quite sentimental with my maiden name. As I told you, I got married last year, and I just wanted to keep hold of it. So abbreviated it to JCW, which ironically was my kind of school nickname, because my name was so bloody long. So JCW Sing on Instagram. Same on TikTok, but I'm not as active on there. I feel like the millennial in me is struggling to be good at TikTok, but maybe one day I'll master it. And then my website, which came later. So even my website is super new. So that only came, I think, back in the spring. wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great story. Again, thank you so much for coming on and telling us it all.
No, thanks for having me, and again for like winning that competition. Not to sound like a super fan, but genuinely don't think I'd have had as many inquiries as I did without them. So grateful.
Nice little plug for me there at the end. Thank you
in focus recording.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Jess for coming on and chatting to me. Make sure you go check her out on social media. Anyways, that's it for this one. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 6.